Greetings to everyone as you're logging on for today's Architecture Month event, Long Bridge Aquatics Center. Looks like everybody is starting to come on. We'll give just another minute for everybody to get in. All right, looks like people are starting to log on. So I will get us started with a few housekeeping items. My name is Joseph McCoy. I am a board member with AI Northern Virginia. We're pleased today to be hosting this event with our partner organization, AI Hampton Roads, and you'll hear from a representative from that chapter in just a minute. A couple of reminders about today's event. The session will be recorded. It will be available early next week on YouTube channel for our chapter, AI Northern Virginia, and AI Hampton Roads will likely put it on their website or social media accounts as well. We do have people logging on from multiple areas today, so if you'd like to drop a word in the chat and just let folks know what city you are watching from. It's always interesting to find out who's participating from where and kind of how far the reach is for an event like this. We will have an opportunity after the panel discussion to engage with questions of the panelists. And if you'd like to ask a question or have the facilitator ask a question on your behalf, please take advantage of the Q&A tool, which is at the bottom menu bar of your screen, the two bubbles. And another word on Zoom, we have done plenty of these, of course, but sometimes internet and technology fails us a little bit. So if Zoom cuts out on you, just stay on. It should reconnect on its own. And we look forward to the rest of the presentation. As a reminder, if you have given us your information on continuing education credits for AIA, we will file those on your behalf after the event. And any questions, or if you forgot to give us that information, you can drop it in the chat. And again, we'll keep track of that as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my co-host for today's event, Adam Schultz.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm excited about sharing this project with you guys today. And first, I want to introduce some of the people behind the scenes here. Debbie Burns, the executive director from the AIA Northern Virginia team, and Marcy Parrish, our Hampton Roads executive director. So thank you both for helping with this and to make this happen. It's cool to collaborate during Architecture Month. So we're excited about this opportunity that we can do this virtually. I'd also like to introduce the rest of the team here today, the people that made this project happen, and we really appreciate you guys sharing this project with us. So first I'll start with Mark Gaylord. Mark has been with IMETCO for over 5 years. He has over 30 years experience assisting with the design team and development of specifications and product selection in mainly the commercial, construction, exterior fenestration, and building envelope industry. Marissa Ascantino, she is with Page Architects as well, and you'll see her later in the video. And she helped, I think, with the design and realization with this project. EJ Sandoval, with extensive experience from architectural project management to building. EJ is currently the QC manager for the Long Bridge Park and Aquatic facility with Oakley and Williams Construction, supporting the project through every phase, including the RFQ, RFP, design competition, design, and construction. With roots in architecture design, EJ brings a unique skill set, having successfully led teams of architects, engineers, and consultants from project startup to construction completion on both the West and East Coasts. Adrian Lazaro with Page Architects. has more than 25 years of experience in architectural design, space planning, programming, specifications writing, construction documentation, and construction administration. As the architect and/or project manager for various project types, including academic, multifamily, commercial, and government projects. He is highly experienced in exterior and interior renovation projects. Bob Perry, also with Page Architects. Bob has over 37 years of experience on both national and international projects. He has worked on a variety of building types for multiple sectors, and market sectors, including an extensive portfolio of civic government projects. He is actively involved in project planning, design, architecture, and construction administration in his role of project manager. This flexibility offers clients a broader perspective on a particular project and a more cost-effective approach to problem solving. And last, Eric Beach, currently the Arlington County Department of Parks and Recreation Division Chief, 20 years of experience in parks and recreation planning, design, and construction. He has been a project manager and executive of the Long Bridge Park project since 2001. The Long Bridge Park project is one of Arlington County's largest capital projects at over $120 million investment in 30 acres. So thank you guys, and it's quite an awesome team and years of experience that went into this. So with that, Joe, I'm going to ask you to start the video. And so,
good afternoon. My name is Adrian Lazaro. I am an associate principal at Page and the project architect for the Long Bridge Park Aquatics and Fitness Center project, together with our design partners, MJMA from Toronto, and a great consulting team that includes Elliott Bryan, AMT Engineers, Hillis Carnes, Roadside Harwell, Schnabel DC, Limbach, and Water Technology Inc. We at Page work closely with Coakley Williams as part of the design build team to deliver this very exciting project to Arlington County. The project started with the owner's project requirements and a set budget. From there, we worked hard to provide this iconic facility, meeting both the project requirements and the limited budget. All these in a very simple yet elegant design. The facility is situated at the north end of Long Bridge Park with approximately 92,000 square feet of floor area. It has a 50-meter FINA regulation pool at the north end of the building, perfect for everyone, from those who want to do laps to aspiring and current Olympic athletes who want to train. It has seating for more than 400 spectators. Next to the pool is a spa for those who want to relax. At the south end of the building will be a leisure pool with a slide, a lazy river, and play equipment for users of all ages. It will also have a lap area in case you find the 50-meter pool too big. In between these two pools are the admin area, change rooms for men, women, and family, pool support such as lifeguard rooms, storage, first aid, 2 wet classrooms, and 3 community rooms where you can hold small conferences, seminars, or parties. All 3 areas are connected via dry and wet corridors. Above this middle part of the facility is a fitness area which overlooks the leisure pool inside and views towards Reagan National, Crystal City, and the Pentagon outside. The facility is an extension of the existing Long Bridge Park. While making that connection outside, we also brought it inside from the Esplanade to the Esplanade Corridor, where a timeline graphics and the rich history of Arlington County and Long Bridge Park will be located. The building materials used are very durable, simple, and aesthetically pleasing. At the exterior, we have predominantly metal wall and roof panels, with phenolic panel accents at the main and Esplanade entrances. The glazing is treated with fritting in a pattern that makes it a bird-safe or bird-friendly glass. Yes, we did think about our little feathered friends in the design of this facility. Inside, we barely have veneer finishes. Floor is mostly concrete, polished or brushed. The group exercise and fitness areas, though, have wood and rubber respectively to make it easier on users. Walls are mostly painted or exposed concrete. We have a few areas with tiled walls, such as the shower areas and all gender restrooms. But it's not all about aesthetics. We also had to take into account the humid and somewhat corrosive environment in the pools. That is why we have fabric ceilings and fabric air ducts with aluminum hard duct connections, for example. Exposed steel is galvanized or applied with high-performance coating. We also thought about limiting the effects of the corrosive environment by addressing air quality through the HVAC system. You see, pools, when used, generate this noxious gas called chloramine, which is a reaction caused by the chlorine in the water mixing with ammonia, which comes from our bodies in the form of sweat, oils, and other liquids. That gas formed on the pool surface is heavier than air. Old pool designs had to return air low across the deck. But guess what? Trying to move that gas across the deck is basically ineffective, as users walking along the deck would disrupt airflow and make the gas go airborne. That is the pool smell you smell in pool facilities, the same smell that reminds you of summer. So we source capture that gas at the edge of the pools via the gutter evacuator system and is exhausted out the building and not recirculated. Because we know that better air quality means more fun for everyone. So there you have it, the building in a nutshell. We are really excited about this project and we take pride in being part of making it happen. We look forward to seeing you enjoy this facility in the near future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Adrian. That was an awesome introduction to the project. And I think what's exciting about this this opportunity, even though we can't do a statewide kind of hard hat tour, we here in Hampton Roads can experience this building a little bit. And to do so, we created, and really Joe and his team created this video as well. So Joe, if you could start the video and take us to the building. Thanks.
What we had heard from the Long Bridge neighborhood committees was they wanted more park. They were excited about a building being here, but they wanted more park, and they wanted a passive park. The existing park is all about soccer and play fields and activities, noisy activities. Folks wanted to watch birds because of the association with Roach's Run. They plane watch, they train watch, and on some nights you get to watch fireworks, I suppose. So it was all about more passive engagement. The idea was that there is no barrier between park and building, and the park seamlessly moves its way into the building. And we saw that entrance as important as the front entrance because a different group of people will be coming in there. Bikers, when they finish the overpass for pedestrians, that will connect both the District of Columbia and the George Washington Parkway. When folks come in off of the Esplanade from way down at the other side of Crystal City, they just walk seamlessly and are guided, literally guided into the building by the landscape. It was a big driver in terms of both the appearance of the building and how it sits and nestles in.
This place where we're standing at, it's the Esplanade. It's a very nice open space under a huge canopy. It connects to the park. There's a jogging trail. You can see planes land and take off. It's very breezy. This is the favorite part of the project, for me at least.
Actually, it's when you drive in, the overall feeling that you get from the building. Because it sits away from you, there is a sense of entry. When you actually turn into the park and your car turns this way, and you get to enjoy the building as you come in from far away. The building is a lot of large-scale elements. And so while you can appreciate them up close, they really ring when you're far away. You really get to see how we've pushed this front entry in so that you could enjoy the scale of the building. They were early discussions about what the project wanted to be. But this was not really about architectural design. It was more about finding something that would resonate with the county. We knew they wanted an iconic structure. It's in an iconic location. We knew they wanted a civic feel to the building, and they had a lot of program that they needed to enclose. We were walking the old site, but what we noticed about the existing park was because they're playing fields, they're flat plains. It's not rolling hills. Everything was sort of in flat plains. And that gave us sort of the inspiration for this idea of they chose the notion or the metaphor of origami. For me, it was tessellated planes that we could pull the building up and out of the ground. So all of the geometry is really based on the building being a part of the park and sort of rising up out of the park. So the tessellated part, the origami piece, is important in the form of the building. It guided everything. The shapes, the folds in the panel, what they're trying to do is to recall the notion that it's being pulled out of the ground and it's being folded as it forms this large volume that holds both of these swimming pools.
So with the pools, there's always another layer of complexity dealing with the exhaust systems, the finishes, kind of just making sure everything that you're putting into it is right for that environment. Kind of it's the chlorines and everything else. So I thought that was an interesting part of the project. And we worked very closely with MGMA, which our team who their primary focus is pools. And so kind of having those discussions with them of, you know, this finish might not work here because of the pool environment. So I thought that was a very interesting part of the project that I definitely learned a lot. I hope that it's kind of a welcoming building, a building for kind of the community. You know, it's a community space. There's plenty of community spaces inside, community rooms, the fitness center, the outdoor areas connecting to the park. So I really I would, you know, having the public kind of embrace the building as part of their community and utilize it in their kind of everyday life.
I think if you look at the geometry of the building and seeing what's happening, getting all these corners and you know, maybe there's a couple 90-degree corners around here, but other than that, there's not that many of them. And trying to get all of these to work with the metal siding, the phenolic panels, the curtain walls, it was a challenge there. You know, having to deal with all the different tolerances that are involved with those trades, and I think that'd be a big thing to note for some young and upcoming architects, to really be cognizant of how much tolerances you're giving your contractor with your details and things to in the future. So, but we were able to make it work.
So the project, as I had mentioned, had a long gestation period. We've gone through several designs for the Aquatic Center itself in this part of the park development. This one resonated for us because we really wanted to make sure we were getting as much sort of bang for your buck for the public dollars. And this building, at the same time, we wanted to make a statement, and we wanted to have a modern facility. We wanted to have a facility the community could be proud of. And this one really utilized, through its design, a good way to maximize, you know, the swim opportunities, the health and fitness space that we can put into it, and then have the sport amenities like appropriate deck space, storage, community rooms, other things that support, you know, the community and the activities going here. And in this design, this building really spoke to us in that it was doing that. We didn't have to shorten or go light on certain things because of the simplicity of the nature design, yet it's very well appealing design as far as the way it sits into the park and the aesthetic to the building.
What I would hope people would enjoy is just the absolute simplicity of the building. There's not a lot going on. There's not a lot of moves. There's not a lot of ornamentation. You come through the front door, and the entire building just unfolds in front of you. You don't have to look or hunt for the natatoriums. You don't have to hunt for the locker rooms. You don't have to hunt for the seating. Everything is just laid out there as you come through the front door. And I think there are some interesting vistas from inside where you can actually now, inside the building, look out and get a feel for the railroad tracks, for Crystal City, for just the overall area. You'll see the metro when you're sitting in the natatorium. You'll see the metro coming out of the ground and rolling by. A constant reminder of what the neighbors were asking about. They wanted a building that fit in with their things. So it fits in with the bird watching, the plane watching. You'll be able to observe all of that no matter where you're at in the building. And it's excitement in simplicity. Our scheme is just extremely simple. And I think that's where the beauty lies, in its simplicity.
Thanks. Well, that was a fantastic video. I think we can really get a grasp on just, Bob, I think he used the word beauty, and it really is just a beautiful building. Well, I'd like to turn our attention to the panelists and ask them and guide them with some questions, and hopefully we can kind of paint the picture and what happened and how we got such an amazing building. So, and again, thank you, Joe and team and all those involved from the design build team, and one putting together that video and sharing this building with us. It's awesome. Well, first, I'd like to start with Eric. We often know there's a great deal that goes into large community projects before putting out an RFP. So would you tell us more about the history of Long Bridge Park and your process of choosing the design build delivery method and the building project team? And actually, maybe even Page Architects, Bob could respond a little bit about the project team too. So
first, I want to thank you for having me. I'm Eric Beach with the Department of Parks Recreation in Arlington, Virginia. I think the way to understand how we landed at the design build process to deliver the project kind of starts a little bit with the context and sort of the history of Long Bridge Park. For those that may not know exactly where we are, we're a little county, I think the second smallest in the country, excuse me. We have about 26 square acres and 280,000 people that live here. We're right directly across the river from Washington, D.C., and this particular site sits right at the nexus or the gateway from the major highway that comes into Arlington, Ronald Reagan National Airport. And so we have a sort of prime spot, and it's a project that we're very proud of. It's been long in development. It's about a 30-acre project for us, and that is sort of amazing for the county to be able to develop that much space. And the county's investment there has been reflected in that. By the time we're said and done, we'll develop those 30 acres, improve the street frontage around here, and spent about $130 million on this project. The project itself has spurred development in the area. Boeing's East Coast headquarters is now adjacent to our site, and we have some partnership with them that help fund some of the project. And so it's quite a high-profile location and sort of a very, as you might imagine, political conversation for the county and for folks that support it and maybe have a different opinion of it. So it's been a sort of a fun ride for these 20 years that we've been working on this project. This project started in 2001, and when we started, the original design for the building itself was fairly straightforward, simple architecture, simple mechanics, and trying to maximize the use program space. During the course of that work, the county had the opportunity to relocate the building to a parcel adjacent, obtain that parcel, and struck a deal with the developer through a transfer development rights program that added $25 million to our project. So we did. We basically then had the architecture begin to reflect the monumental nature of the site. We had cutting edge, environmentally efficient mechanical systems and materials. and we maximized our program, because at the end of the day, that's what we're doing. We're serving our community. And so everything people want to do, we were able to do with that building. The recession in the mid 2000s came and hit us. That company had lots of problems in its financing and went under. And so we lost our $25 million. And so we went back to design this building for a third time. During that third time, we tried to reduce the cost of the facility. But we had all these expectations from the community that we were going to have this monumental site, this monumental building, these high energy efficient equipment using heat recovery and things like this, as well as still maintaining our program. And so when we ultimately went to bid for this project in 2013, those bids, we missed our mark. We came back in with a project that the low bid was about $12 million over the original budget that we had established. And so that was just something, was an untenable spot for the county to be in. And so we went into many years of looking at finding other partnerships. The DC area was talking about hosting the Olympics at that point in time. And we looked at all kinds of different ways to maintain all the goals and the vision that our community had established that was to be accomplished in this site. And at the end of the day, it just wasn't something that was going to be able to be done. So we went back out with the community and refocused on what our efforts were going to be to deliver a community facility. What are the primary things that we need to get out of this building to serve the areas of need that we had in aquatics and health and fitness and outdoor park space. So when we came to the end of that conversation, I went to our board and said, okay, these are what we're going to focus on. The question began, well, how are you going to do it this time and give us a project on time and on budget? At this point, we had been about 17 years into this, and the community was ready to just get this done. And so one of the things we began to explore was design build. Design build was a different path for the county. This was the first project we've ever done at design build. Part of that is the state did not give us authorization to be able to use design build. They changed their legislation about that time that allowed local jurisdictions to do it. For those unfamiliar, Virginia is a Dillon law state, so we can only do what they let us do. And at that point, what we decided to do is when we began investigating the design build, we looked through what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages. Well, the advantages are we were going to get a project for the dollar amount that we put out there. We felt they would control the design timeline and the construction timeline, and be able to integrate it enough to help give us some savings in schedule that helped our cost out a little bit. But at the same time, we looked at some issues that we had with design build. Part of that was Arlington has a rich and robust history of community participation. And so we did know that design build was going to limit our options to change things, to have conversation with our community and alter it for desires or things that they would like to see during the design. And so we began to craft what is informally termed a design competition into our design build procurement process that enabled us to gauge some community feedback on multiple designs. This process was, I think, really successful. And so we are now, obviously, you're seeing the video and the results of that process. So at this point, I might ask Bob Perry from Page a little bit about when you saw our process, how you put your team together. One thing I will say before Bob goes is that one of the things we did with our design build is we also said how much money we were going to pay for the building. And we developed a very strict level of design criteria that had to be met. And when we put that out, we said, here's the amount of money for $54 million. What can you accomplish out of all these things that we require you to accomplish? And that then evolved into these proposals that we received and our first engagement with the Page team and others. Not sure if you might have
I do actually. And first of all, I want to thank Adam and Joe for highlighting the building. It's a great privilege for us to have the building with such publicity, I think. To answer the question, though, I want to go sort of backwards and talk a little bit about how we tried to form a winning concept. And the way we did it was we just listened to that story. The county told us that exact story when we sat down before we did any designing, before we discussed anything. And we said, that story needs to be protected. This building cannot be about the egos of the architect. It has to fit that narrative that the county put on. And most important in that narrative was they could not afford to go over budget. So we set out to look and design a building that was intentionally simple so that we could get all of the program that they wanted underneath the roof in a cost-effective way. The way we put the team together after reading their requirements, and they had some very stringent requirements. They wanted to know a little bit about our ability to deliver aquatic centers, how to work on contaminated sites, how to work on large sophisticated projects. It was a fairly complicated RFP, but we had just won a project out in Loudoun County for a similar facility with MJMA, architects out of Toronto, who specialize in aquatic facilities, recreation centers. We'd formed a great relationship with them in starting that project, and felt like we were it was an insurmountable team. We had a great experience there. We thought we'd carry that over to this project and give it a run, so to speak. And what we did was we had to look for first, after that architectural partnership, was a general contractor, because it was a design build, and we needed a contractor that sort of had the experience in 50-meter pools, because again, that was one of the stiff requirements, but also a company that shared our values about design and the implementation of that design and construction. And on the very first day that I went into Coakley's office to talk about a partnership with them, it was clearly obvious that we were a perfect match. They had all the same goals and objectives as we had in terms of the design integrity, preserving the quality of the design, and creating just a quality building. And then from there, we just tried to fill in primarily with folks that we had experience with. So we selected the same structural engineer that we used out at Loudoun. We did not have the same aquatics specialist there. We chose WTI because we needed someone who could do all of the filtration systems and things like that, and speak within the proposal about those kinds of systems. And essentially, we just went from there. We filled in the rest of the folks. We knew we had a contaminated site, so we knew we had to get folks engaged there. We had some challenges with foundations, so we brought in Schnabel DC to help us with that. The team gelled very quickly. It was a very quick process once we were shortlisted to come up with the design.
Thanks. That was great. And thank you, Eric and Bob. And what an amazing story of perseverance and added value and investment for the community. And Bob, I like what you said about shared values too. And I know establishing a shared project vision is really an essential and important part of a successful project. Eric, would you further describe some of the unique dynamics between the Long Bridge Advisory Committee, the Arlington Parks and Recs, and the design build team, and how you guys work towards this shared values and project vision?
Yeah, certainly. We Arlington has sort of this rich history that we call the Arlington Way, that has a very highly engaged, highly educated community that participates in almost everything that as far as our decision-making processes. We at that time in 2001, the way we were managing those, we established a group called the Long Bridge Park Advisory Committee. This committee was made up of all different members of all of the county's various commissions: Planning Commission, Transportation Commission, Park and Rec Commission, Environment Commission, Disabilities Advisory Committee, all these different groups. And so our history of the first 17 acres of the park that we developed as far as the outdoor component athletic fields and then coming into design, that group participated in our process fully the whole way. So for example, when we had concept designs, we would meet with the advisory committee and they would give commentary, and then we would make changes and we would go back and get consensus around that. At the same time, they're reporting to our county board about the progress we're making and their agreement or disagreement with the decisions that we were making. And so obviously there's lots of work to do there to resolve those. They where Arlington, and I don't want to call it unique, I'm sure there are other communities out there that do that, where it becomes interesting is that for us gets pushed into the actual design process. So we do this, and we're involving this group at schematic design, into our construction documentation through your 30, 60, 90. Maybe it trails off a little bit less, but they're commenting on the way sidewalks are flowing, the way they're pointing, the materials that we're using. Some folks want to talk about the type of tile we're putting in our pools. And so we had a very robust discussion. And when we moved to design build, one of the things that we recognize from design build is that it does take a little bit of choice away from the owner. Once you've established your criteria, it limits a little bit about, the decisions that you get to make in that process, and particularly being able to do an iterative design process that you would typically see if you were doing a design bid build. And so we worked with our committee who had very strong leadership, and we talked with them and we said, we've been doing this for 15 years now. We've been going on about this. We have lots of input from you guys, and we are going to take all that input and translate that into our design criteria that becomes part of that design build package. And so all of their goals, vision, the knowledge that we built on some of the functionality was built into that design criteria. And they were able to buy into that. In fact, we actually even previewed that with them at one point before Bob and his team came aboard with us. What that translated into was we were able during the design process, during the selection process, and one thing everybody calls a design competition, and you will see that it's actually sort of an informal name because with the rules the state has, it wasn't actually a competition. It was a feedback by the community. And so the teams presented, we had different designs, and we collected that feedback, and then the selection panel of staff and actually an advisory committee member used that input in their determination and others of qualifications and things like this. So we were able to get upfront buy-in into the process. And then coming out of that, we did something a little bit unique. Is in our overall project budget, we included a contingency amount, I think it was about $100,000 or so, that was reserved for community changes. And so we required the Page team to come back in our early concept development that we had, based on our competition, and talked to our committee, got some feedback. They required some changes, or not required, they asked for some changes in the way some of the park was configured, some of the things with the building. And we were able to implement those using that contingency money that we had reserved on the side. So we were able to really, we feel for design build, be able to blend that sort of tradition of Arlington involvement from the community into our final product. It was based on all their good work, and then we were able to allow them to have some hand in some of the tweaks to bring it to sort of perfection, if you will. And so I think we were pretty successful. And I think from everything I see and all the emails I get, people seem pretty happy the way things are shaping up on the site. Lots of excitement building to our opening here in the summer. So I think that, kind of hopefully gives a little bit of insight on that. And I'm not sure if the Page team maybe would like to interject, because they were part of that post process with our committee. But I think we found a good way to kind of bring it together.
Just a small little ad there, Eric, and it was actually the very first phone call that we received to be notified that we were selected. At the very end of that call, it was, but we want to change your design. And the irony of it all is that by listening to the LBPAC, the Long Bridge Committee, all of their comments were so insightful that when we used them as the basis for the changes that we created, many of them didn't cause cost changes. The very first one was they wanted more park. We thought we had given them all the park we could. They asked us to see if we could stretch it further. And it caused a slight little change to where we actually located the building. We pushed it just a scooch further north and a little bit further to the east. And lo and behold, we had a much better connection to the railroad tracks and to the Esplanade when we did that. And so almost every move we made that satisfied the community's desires made the building all the much better. It was a real lesson in there are ways to listen to the community that you can truly enhance the design of the building.
Bob, I'll just close. I know I think there's some other questions we want to get to, but I will say that part of it is the good partnership that we have. We're very fortunate that we in Page and Coakley and all the other team members, we've had a good partner that is able to work with us and has been responsive to our questions. And when we need to, there may be some cost things to resolve, but it's so important that partnership's been strong and able to kind of move through some of these questions and challenges that we had.
Eric and Bob, thanks. I think we're heard, a great story now of how we setting up this specific community generated design criteria. And now Bob and EJ, kind of from the perspective of the design build team, would you guys discuss some of the benefits and challenges in this project associated with the design build process?
Yeah, sure. But first, I'd like to thank you guys for having us here too. This is great. It's been awesome to be part of this project too, as well, with Arlington County and Page, MGMA, the whole crew. And like Eric was saying, it's been a great team from the beginning. All the shared values that Bob was talking about that we have together, I think that helped to really make everything gel and go forward. But with the design build process, it's the architect and the builder coming together from day one, putting it together. So working side by side. So that again has just been a great part there. And part of that allows us to give the accelerated delivery of the project, where we are moving forward and like meeting the strict timelines that the owner had with it. Also the guaranteed cost from the very beginning, that was kind of one of the biggest points that working with Page and MGMA, everyone, that we were constantly going back and forth, reviewing drawings, checking it against costs and estimations. Right there, we have our in-house estimating team that worked diligently with us, and we were always bouncing things back and forth with it. Is this going to work? Is this going to work? And it just really pushed everyone to really maintain that goal of with the guaranteed cost and giving the Arlington County the most that they could get out of the project. So one of the iterations that we went through, Bob, going through, it was definitely good.
This is all happening in about at least my memory says about a 6-week period. That was all that we had, and it was not only having to design something, but then having to get cost feedback on it. And it was down to the minutia. Could we afford hidden connections, or did we have to have them exposed? If we had to have them exposed, then it was up to us to try to figure out a way to make that exposed fastener elegant. It was sort of that dialogue all the way through. We weren't forcing our design intent. We were sort of being a little bit reactionary after our original concept. Once we established the concept, once we figured out an inexpensive way to try to enclose a roughly 90,000 square feet, then the rest was just negotiation with the general contractor. And we had one little anecdote that I think sort of sums it all up. In the video in the lobby, you may have seen that all of the fitness area on the mezzanine level has glazing around it. Our renderings showed that glazing, and the current building has that glazing in it as well. But that isn't what had happened. Somewhere in between the rendering and getting to that detail after award, we ran into some cost issues. So we needed to reduce the amount of glazing. We presented that to the Arlington County in a rendering, and we got their feedback immediately. Not happening. Got to go back and get us the glass. This is a way in which I think design build works best. And it wasn't just the architect and the contractor involved here. The county came in and worked with us. They understood what the issue was. We made a few small adjustments to the height of the glass, which pushed the cost significantly down. And the county was okay with those for a variety of reasons. One, we had a little knee wall that they felt was safer, and it gave us the ability to power up all of the exercise machines in a much more cost-effective way. So, with the county's help, with the general contractor's ability to tell us, where does the cost of the glass in terms of its height drop dramatically? There's a line where once you cross it, you're into a whole different price point. We were able to bring all that glass back, and thankful for it, because it's a real highlight for the way in which the mezzanine works. But that's a success story for how design build can work.
Thank you, EJ and Bob. Yeah, that is an awesome success story. I've had that same issue on a couple of buildings of mine, so that's great. All right, and next, and we're getting a little tight on time, but Adrian and Mark, in the video, we heard the design concepts of tessellated planes, folds, and the building seemingly, being pulled up out of the ground. Would you all discuss how the design build team maintains some of these design concepts with all the non-regular corners and tolerances through the design development, shop drawing and review, and construction?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Adam. Yeah, as you have seen in our images, our Joe will play this later. Joe, sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. So as you've seen in the images, a large expanse of our exterior walls are of the standing seam metal wall panels. And standing seam in itself, it's designed to be a flat product, right? That's what the standing seam is for. It's to provide rigidity to that panel. However, the way we designed it, our concept, as mentioned by Bob earlier, it's like an origami. There are some subtle bends along the wall panel, which could be difficult for a standing seam. So we worked with Mark Gaylord from Metco. We were telling him, okay, this is the design intent. If you have to cut the panel, you can cut the panel, but what we don't want to see is a flashing along that cut, because from afar, we want that panel to look like it's one panel with a very subtle bend. And I'll let Mark talk about the details on how they were able to achieve that, but they were able to achieve that. And from that vertical plane, as it goes up, we did not want to see a metal coping at the top of the wall, as one would normally see on metal wall panels. So again, we told Mark, we want to see that standing seam go up and return over the wall as if the wall panels were becoming the roof, because that was the concept. The roof would fall down and become the wall, right? So Mark, again, and his team worked with us during the design, actually, and all through the shop drawing process, we were able to achieve that design intent. Then behind that wall, at the top of the wall behind it, because we wanted the standing seam to return back, we had to have an inside gutter. And look at the building. We definitely don't want to see that rain gutters in front of the building, right? So again, we worked with Metco to design that inside gutter. It's a very robust inside gutter because it's taking the volume from that very large roof. I think correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but our roof area was about 60,000 square feet or so, right? So all that volume coming down onto essentially two sides of the building, we had to create a very robust stainless steel gutter to take all that. On the roof, we wanted to limit our horizontal joints, because that will be a possible source for leaks in the future. So again, we told Mark, we don't want to see any horizontal joints. Do what you can. So Mark has a very nice video to show how they did it, but our longest panel was more than 200 feet. So Mark, maybe you could share some thoughts on the process and what we achieved.
Yeah, not only, this project, fitting in the community, aesthetically, but I think, and fitting the needs aesthetically. I think the county should be really excited that this project was designed to last for a long time for the intended use. So with that being said, I can show some of the nitty gritty of how the building was designed. The first thing that happened when we were brought on board is we ran hydrothermal analysis. Joe, can you go ahead and start the video? So we ran hydrothermal analysis basically to show, we knew this was an aquatics facility, and they can be very, very challenging, with the vapor drive from the inside to the out, and we're in a kind of a colder climate. So we run the hydrothermal analysis and tells us basically, which components are going to work the best for, aquatics facilities. And we typically do this with all aquatics facilities. So we took the, the design, and it was great. Paige knew exactly what they wanted, which made our lives much, much easier. They knew exactly how they wanted to perform. They knew what they wanted. We just basically came up with the details. We came up with shop drawings, some of the details. This is a detail showing of the knee plates making the wall panels tie into the roof and into the internal gutters. They thought even of the details, even you can see the internal gutter there has leaf guards in it. So this not only is this enormous roof, that capture these enormous internal gutters capture the water, but they're all considering the maintenance of this too, and how can they reduce the maintenance of the project, over the lifetime of it. So again, many thoughts went into this, process. And here's some of the photos, from the very beginnings of the project, from the steel going up and the deck being installed. And you'll see, collaboration. One of the other great things that we had on this project were the installers. The installers, Alliance Exterior, they did the exterior fenestration. They provided the curtain wall, the phenolic panels, and they did the roof installation. And that was, another key to success in the project. They knew how everything should tie in together, the transitions. Some of the, really challenging were these transitions at the edges where all these roof panels had to join and meet and line up with the wall panels. It was challenging, but it came together extremely well. Lots of meeting, lots of collaboration. As Adrian said, these panels were the longest panel in the center of the roof was about 210 feet long. And the best way to do that is to basically bring the roll forming machine out to the field and actually factory form these panels right to the roof. So as you can see, there was scissor lifts set up, and actually the panels were shot right to the roof, which saves a tremendous amount of time. And in this project, particularly because it was next to the Reagan National Airport, setting up a crane wasn't as easy as it should be. So you had to have special permits and special permissions. So shooting them to the roof was a very cost savings and lessened the time with installing the metal panels. Every aspect of this was really thought about in which sections to start the roof, and with Coakley Williams, scheduling and coordination was exceptional, making sure that, certain areas had to be dried in first and knew how the building was actually going to have to be constructed and how the roof had to be installed. You can see, you really can't envision the whole building until you're standing on the roof of it, looking, out over the Pentagon and seeing the enormity of the project. But again, all of the details from the wall panels having thermally broken clips to the roof actually having a Z-girt in the inside layer of the insulation to limit the thermal bridging of the roofing system, because there's many fasteners that come through the roof, and if they're left on the exterior of the roof, that thermal bridging happens, and it can cause condensation on the inside of your deck. And again, just some of the transitions as they were being installed, through the process, and making sure the joints were smooth, and even Paige even knew with the SRI value, this particular finish on the roof panels, they wanted a 3-coat, extra protection on the panels themselves with a high SRI value. So they chose our platinum silver in a 3-coat finish, and it turned out, I think, exceptional. So again, just some of the finished or the close to finished photos here. So I just say exceptional job, Paige.
Thank you. And I wish to add, Adam, we had Mark here for this panel discussion, but our efforts were not limited to Mark's metal wall panels. It was the same with the curtain wall manufacturer and the phenolic panel manufacturer and installer, and of course with Coakley Williams. So it was a great team effort to make sure that the design intent was respected and actually achieved.
Yeah,
it was definitely a team. So.
Yeah, and I think it's really neat in these design build projects, from my experience, to be able to work with, people like Mark, and really so much earlier on in the project design really helps to make these work well, because you can just coordinate all the other details around it. And I'm sure EJ helped with that process a great deal too.
He did.
So, yeah. So we're getting close to time, so I want to, before we take questions, and there's not a lot of questions, but if people do want to write questions in that Q&A, I see one so far, please do so now, and we'll start to ask those questions of the panel. But I do want to put in a quick plug. Joe, if you would put the website URL into the chat box. There's a website for this project that's being developed, and you guys can visit the website. I think it should be up and running early on next week. So, Joe,
Adam, I'm going to do one better. I'm going to send the link directly to everybody who signed up for this. So you'll get a special link, goes right to your email.
Wow, thanks, Joe. It's awesome. Much easier. Okay, well, so the question we have here, the first question, it's from George DeFalco, and it asks, did the GMP design build contract include any shared savings clauses or other performance bonus structures? In other words, the budget, schedule, building performance. And
I can go ahead and kind of take that one to start. So the simple answer is the contract basically has both a carrot and a stick to it. The stick is that actually 60% of the fee that the contractor, in this case Coakley, is eligible for associated with the project is at risk. And so we have a quarterly setup meeting where we go through and we evaluate numerous categories of their performance. And if they meet that, they get their full fee for that quarter, the percentage of the fee for that quarter. If they don't, we can hold back fee and they can earn it back with improvement in that category, or they simply wouldn't earn it back. So that's sort of the stick side. The carrot side does include some in the overall contingency, not the county, the part that's built into the contract for the contractor does have a cost share to it, I believe. And I would have to go back over the contract, but there's a certain amount of money that the county will take off the top of what is left. And then there is a percentage share of the difference. And so we had a little bit of both, because when you get into this kind of contract, you don't know your partner, and you could end up with a great partner, you could end up with a bad partner. In this case, we have a great partner, and I can say without any secrets that Coakley has received all of their fee at risk to this point in time, so they've done a good job, and we built both in to protect ourselves.
So thanks, Eric. EJ, in the video, you talked about some lessons learned for young designers and tolerances, and could you speak a little more to that? That'd be valuable for some to hear on the call.
Yeah, so that was something that I picked up from an old mentor of mine when I was younger, working as an architect and back in Arizona, and he was a very thinking about how buildings come together and knowing how things come together, and really wanting to make something, giving everybody the chance to understand what your vision is, so that it can be achieved. Because the tradesmen's out there, that's the first time they're seeing the drawings, and kind of looking at how to make your details and how to construct your documents, the instructions to tell these people how to put the building together. So you want to give them the best chance they have to achieve your vision and make it viable for everyone to get through. So that's kind of where that was coming from. That you start thinking about how the concrete is working towards one set of tolerances. You've got the structural steel that's working to another set of tolerances, and then you come down and you start having the phenolic panel and the metal panels. It just gets tighter and tighter. And if there's a little bit off, you want to kind of design in that buffer zone, so to speak, I guess. So that's kind of what I was trying to point out.
And it seems like this delivery type, this design build delivery method can really help that because you have the different people, the manufacturers working together early on in the project.
That was, yes. And, we had our superintendents looking at this, at some of the details and going through the drawings as well. And we would come back, you're like, wow, how are we going to build this? You start thinking, and then we say, hey, maybe if we, tweak this just a little bit. So then, I'd go over and talk to Bob and Adrian, say, hey, what do you think of this? We can achieve it this way, easier and achieve the same results. So, sometimes we be like, no, but it was, most part, yeah, this is going to work. So yeah, it was great.
It's awesome. Thanks, CJ.
Yep.
I have one more question here. I see a mock-up was built. Was this cost included in the design build budget? And what was this cost? And I don't know, Eric or Adrian, probably.
Adrian, you may remember better than I do. I know we required a mock-up, but I don't recall if it was in our overall budget, if that came out of the design slash construction team's own costs.
Yep, I'll let EJ answer to whether it was included in the cost or not. But what I can tell you about that mock-up, that was a design effort in itself, because we had to create construction drawings for that nice mock-up to make sure that all the elements that we wanted to see were in that mock-up, like how the metal wall panels return to the roof. I think you saw that photo. We wanted to see how different materials would interface with each other. We even wanted to see how the dimensional signage would look on that phenolic panel. So it was a design effort. I'll let EJ respond to the cost.
I don't think it was included in there. I think there was something different, but I'm not. It was an early on thing, so I'm not sure on that part.
Sure, with the mock-up, there's some cost savings in the long run, though, so rather than running into issues later.
Right.
So great.
Mm-hmm. But it was a valuable tool. Definitely, it is a valuable tool.
Yeah. Well, we're at 1 o'clock. Guys, thank you so much. It's really been a great lesson with perseverance and just some of the amazing benefits in learning some lessons learned, I think, through working with design build. And it's been really neat to understand more about this project. And actually, I'm going to be in Northern Virginia, so I'm looking forward to visiting Long Bridge Park next month. So maybe I'll get in touch with one of you guys to come see it with me. But thank you to all those participating and joining us today. And we are going to close out here. So if anybody else has anything, I will shut the meeting down. But thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. Awesome project. And
thanks, everybody.
Thank you. To the community.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.